Well, hello everyone. Dr. Dawn here, your personal career coach, and I want to welcome you to our podcast. Now, if you're feeling stuck in your career, don't know what to do next, or you're just in the mood for a change of pace, today's episode is perfect for you. I'm going to give you 5 of my power strategies to help you get unstuck and regain your momentum. So come back and join me for episode 73, where we'll talk about it all right here on the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast.
Are you a strong, independent woman who's passionate about her career? Then this podcast is perfect for you. Based on her book, The Career Woman's Secret Playbook, career coach Dr. Dawn Hamby shares the kind of insider secrets you can only know if you've hired, fired, and promoted employees over the past 30 years.
Ladies, I'm on a mission to help busy women just like you create a career and life you love without sacrificing your work-life balance to get it. Come join me as we inspire and motivate each other only as women can and have lots of fun along the way.
With Dr. Dawn's tools, strategies, and action steps, you can unleash your personal and professional power in a whole new way. Here's today's episode.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, you might have noticed earlier that I introduced myself as your personal career coach. You know, I've never done that before. But in 2025, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know our theme this year, our mission, our motto is all about thriving in 2025. Okay, we plan on thriving in 2025 and we want you to as well. And so when I was thinking back on 2024, and I was thinking back of all the wonderful content we've got out here for you on the podcast, it occurred to me that the topics I tackle are really a continuation of the conversation we started in my book, which of course has the same name as the podcast, and also the fact that these topics, and the book for that matter, really came from not only my experience in being a hiring manager, being an educator, being a trainer for over 30 years, knowing those insider secrets of who gets hired, fired, and why, which is basically why I wrote the book, because I wanted women to just have that special edge. I wanted to tell them all those things that I really couldn't say to them if they were interviewing for a job with me. But as their personal career coach, I could. So it was occurring to me as I was putting together today's notes for the podcast that I need to start introducing myself that way. I think it's going to be my new thing for 2025 is to introduce myself at the beginning of each episode, reminding you that I am your personal career coach, because these are the strategies. These are the kinds of techniques and tools that I discuss with my exclusive private coaching clients. And guess what? You're getting it for free. Oh gosh, now that I think about it, maybe we shouldn't tell my coaching clients. Okay, maybe I'm being a little silly about that. First off, they're listeners, they're already listening. But secondly, of course, they realize that hiring your own executive coach is the ultimate investment in your own professional and personal growth, right? So the gig is up. The secret is out. Of course, if you guys ever feel like you need that personalized one-on-one help, we're here for you. Check out our coaching options on our website. But in the meantime, come join me each and every Monday. We love dropping these episodes on the podcast on Mondays to help you have a great week ahead. Now, the YouTube version is usually going to be uploaded on Tuesdays or Thursdays, okay? So look for those videos then. And my goal is always to give you some new topics to think about, some new strategies to put in place each and every Monday. Now, many of you already know I am a recovering perfectionist. So we're also focusing on progress, not perfection. So although my goal is every Monday, am I going to miss an upload every now and then? Yeah, because my priority, just like I teach my clients, has to be not only for my private coaching clients, but for the companies and organizations I work with. So if I'm going to prioritize my time for my business, yeah, I got to take my own advice, you guys. I can't spread myself too thin. I want to continue to be passionate about my business and putting out content like this. But I also want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to create that wonderful work-life balance. And that's a big overarching theme of our podcast, is to make sure that busy career women out there are not exhausting themselves, because we have a tendency to do it, ladies. There's all kinds of brain research why we do this to ourselves, but we really do. So I hope you realize that by tuning in to our episodes, guess what? You do have your own personal career coach. I want you to feel like you've got a coach in your back pocket that you can pull out anytime, because you know what? You really do. All right, you guys, with that being said, let's dive in. Here's all the things you're going to learn in today's episode. Number one, you're going to learn why feeling stuck actually is a good sign, believe it or not. Number two, you're going to learn how to identify the real reason behind your stagnation, and we're going to figure out ways to move on. Number three, you're going to learn how to reframe your setbacks into comebacks. Number four, you're going to learn how a simple but powerful shift in your mindset will keep you moving forward. And last but not least, number five, yes, that's when I'm going to share my 5 power tips that are going to help you regain that momentum. If you watched any of our videos about the new year to a new you, that's where I revealed our theme was going to be to thrive in 2025. But I also revealed what my word was this year. I encouraged you in one of our challenges to think of one word that said it all. What was your mission this year? What are you really going to focus on? And for me, it's momentum. That's why I'm happy to say that I'm overbooked on some of my coaching calls and my responsibilities to my clients, that I really do have to be careful about how much time I spend on the podcast and YouTube channel. But you know what I'm also doing? One of the reasons why I can be so consistent and already have 73 episodes, you guys, is because I take my own advice about batching my time. So I am blocking out more time for the podcast and the YouTube channel. I'm recording several episodes at once if my energy can withstand it. Now, some days it can't. Again, we're letting go of perfectionism, ladies, but we're doing all of that. So again, all of us can learn together how to make sure that we're passionate about our lives and our careers without spreading ourselves too thin. That's really what it's all about. I want you to live not just an ordinary life. I want you to live an extraordinary one. And we really do have more power and control over our day than we realize. That's how come at the end of every episode, if you've been listening to us for a little bit, you know we close out every episode with my motto, which is all about taking control of your day. Now, can we control what happens to us? Absolutely not. We really can't. But we are always in charge of our reactions. We're always in charge of what we choose to do. That's what's so exciting. You know, it really is about life. You get to choose everything. Okay, maybe kids don't get to choose, but once you're a legal adult, you really can. Okay? You really can. Your choices are always there. You can choose to do nothing. You can choose to give your power away. You can choose to surround yourself with the wrong people. You know, I find that as women, especially as mothers, we don't take our own advice sometimes about who we surround ourselves with, right, ladies? We tell our teenagers, our daughters and our sons, hey, be careful the crowd you're hanging out with. They're not a good influence. And yet sometimes we don't surround ourselves with the people that lift us up. I hate to tell you folks, but in adulthood, sometimes you have to end relationships. It's not always perhaps a romantic one. There are times when you have to cut out toxic friends. I've had to do it. My life is better for it. Now, do I get sad sometimes? Relationships haven't worked out, friendships have ended, romances have ended. Of course I do. And I always wish those folks all the love and joy in the world, because they were a part of my story, a part of my journey. And I have to thank them for that. I think it's special and beautiful, and nothing will ever change that. But you have to take care of yourself. And today's episode is going to help you do that. Because when you're feeling stuck in your career, oh my gosh, it's going to affect everything. So, with the tips we're going to talk about today and taking a deeper dive on the topic itself, you guys, we've got you covered. So again, why is this a good thing? Feeling stuck is frustrating, but the reason it's a good sign is that you're no longer happy with the status quo. All the things I just talked about, those things are frustrating you, and you're ready to make a change. You're either ready for growth, ready for new challenges, or maybe just a fresh direction. A reboot, a fresh start. So again, instead of looking at this feeling of being stuck, this stagnation, I want you to reframe that and see it as the opportunity it is. Here's your chance to reflect back and let's look at what's working, what's not working, and where you want to go next. I tell my clients all the time, so many of us are on autopilot, and you guys, that's a terrible place to be. So remember, when you start to feel stuck, this is a good sign because it's telling you that the day has come for you to wake up and take action. All right, let's go to that second aspect we were talking about. What was the second thing we were going to talk about today? Well, let me tell you what it is. Now we've got to take a look at the real reason behind this stagnation so that you can tackle it head on. So let's start with where this feeling of being stuck is actually coming from. It usually has one of three root causes. Number one, a lack of clarity. And what I mean by that, and this happens to folks all the time, if you're feeling this, by the way, please don't feel alone. Believe me, after years and years of being in this business, I can tell you this happens to a lot of people. And what I'm referencing is the fact that if you're not really clear about what you want in your career, if you're just working to get that paycheck, you just see it as a job and not really as a career, then no wonder you're feeling stuck because nothing's changing. You're not moving forward. There's no career advancement. Now, sometimes that's forced upon you. Maybe the company you're working with really doesn't value professional development. People have been in their same positions for years, and you just don't see that there's anything new you can learn from the company or organization. When that happens, again, it's a sign that you're fed up with the status quo. Doesn't have to be a real negative experience. It can just be this feeling that you just know you can be more and you can do more. And that's okay. Again, this is your wake-up call. So go back and think about, is it because I'm not really clear on where I want to go and what I really want to do? Okay. That's the first underlying cause. So it could be coming from that. Okay. Let's look at a second reason this might be happening. Fear of change. Oh man, is this a big one? When I meet with clients, this is huge. Their first step is reaching out to me because even getting an expert's opinion about what's going on, that's got a lot of fear behind it, right? It really does. I mean, nobody wants to think that they're going to have to make big changes. That it's an exhausting concept. And then here's another part of it. Sometimes you're just really afraid to take the risk and make the change because, again, we're just uncertain about the outcome. But don't worry about that. Remember, I say this all the time. This concept's been around for a long, long time. The idea that we are all responsible for the effort, but not the outcome. In other words, let go of the outcome. Even when the outcome is not something you initially wanted, do you know how many stories there are from millionaires and billionaires saying that what they thought was the worst thing that ever happened to them ended up being the best thing? If you've had some of these experiences, drop it in the comments below because it really can be true. Out of something really painful and terrible, sometimes you realize, oh my gosh, this actually was the best thing that ever happened to me because of these three things, let's say. So out of something bad can be something good. So let go of the outcome. Don't worry about that. You just do your part. And again, getting clear, that was one of the underlying causes, remember? And now this second one, facing fear and staring that down. Okay. Now, all throughout the episode, you guys might notice that I'm going to pop up some videos. If you watch us on YouTube, I'll also include the links in the show notes on the podcast. But I've got lots of videos that can help you on your journey. So as I go through the episode today, I'll mention a couple of those, but I'll always include the links in the show notes on the podcast and then on YouTube. Just click on more. And there you can find that description box and everything will be linked for you there. Okay, here's a third reason behind why you may be feeling stuck. Okay, so it's probably going to be, again, one of these three, could be a combination of all three. But here's the third one: external barriers. Let's go back to what I said earlier. For example, you might be working at a company where everything's just seems to be set. There's no opportunity for career advancement or growth. Okay, that's what I mean by external factors. But here's another part of that. That's why I wanted to list this one separately. Sometimes there is opportunity for career growth, but the projects you're working on, the tasks that you have, just are not ones that are really aligned with your skill set. You just feel like there's so little you can contribute. Maybe your employer is really undervaluing you, maybe not even intentionally. Maybe they just realize you have all these amazing skills, but are just not really sure where to put you. That's a management issue, okay? Leadership should do much better by you. They really should, okay? But again, it can happen. So be proactive, really think about it, because if it is an external barrier, that's not something you can control. But what you can control is having a conversation with your boss, letting them know how you're feeling, and letting them know that you feel blocked because there's no real workplace challenges, there's no real opportunities that really align with your skill set. And oftentimes, a boss is not going to be offended by that. If they're really a great leader, they're going to feel so honored that you want to bring more to your job and that you're willing to do more, that they're going to do what they can. And in fact, if they're truly a leader, they're going to find a way to incorporate your skill sets and help you grow. If not, then you really do need to consider other career opportunities. So how do you figure out where the root cause is really coming from? Okay, here's what I want you to do. To pinpoint your specific challenge, here are some of the questions I want you to ask yourself. Number one, am I unsure of my next step, or am I scared to take it? Number two, what's truly holding me back? Is it external factors, or is it my mindset? Now, again, you guys, I've got lots of videos about all of this and more. I'll be sure to include that. And think about your self-talk. In fact, that was our previous episode. What are you telling yourself? Because that definitely can affect your mindset. And number three, this is one of my favorite questions to ask clients. This is a fun one, and here it is. If I could do anything without fear or limitations, what would I do? And if what you're doing now is so far away from what your dream really is and what you're saying you would do if you could, again, those are things I coach on. You guys need to take a deeper dive on that, because if that's gnawing away at you, it's going to affect everything, not just your work life. Now, once you identify the root cause, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a plan to overcome it. That's the only way you're going to get over feeling stuck. You got to take action. In fact, that is really what coaching is all about, creating those action plans so you can move forward. Okay, let's move on to that second factor I mentioned that we were going to talk about today, and that's this. How do we turn setbacks into comebacks? In other words, how do we reframe things so that we come out ahead and see it for the opportunity it really is? So let's start with this. Most people really do see setbacks as failures, right? That's our first thought. But the most successful professionals see them as the rare opportunity it really is. They understand that if they pay attention, it's going to teach them a valuable lesson that can affect their success in so many ways. There are wonderful and inspiring stories from the top entrepreneurs out there who have had huge failures, huge setbacks, but again, they reframed it, saw it as the comeback it could be. And in fact, they have said in many interviews that their failures taught them more about their businesses. And in some cases, were the reason that they pivoted their businesses. And when they did, guess what? Sometimes they were even more successful than they could have ever dreamed. And that never would have happened had they saw that failure as a complete setback and never thought about reframing it, learning the lesson, and moving forward. So let me give you some examples. These are things I hear all the time, and I'm going to show you right now how we can reframe it. So let's say you didn't get the promotion. I don't want you to think, oh, well, obviously, I'm not good enough. I've worked here for 20 years. I didn't get it. No, we're not going to do that, people. You're going to use the feedback that you get and ask for it. If they don't give you feedback, be proactive and ask for it. And if the feedback has anything to do with your skills, and it doesn't even have to be technical skills, it could be perhaps your relationships with clients, it could be networking, perhaps your professional connections, those kinds of things. Use that feedback, refine those skills, bridge those gaps, and then try again. Now, if you continue to do that and you're beating your head against the wall and you really do believe that there's no opportunity for growth, even if you do work with an executive coach, then yes, perhaps this is not the place for you. But don't presume that going in. There are so many other things you can do first, and none of it has to do with you feeling you're not good enough just because you didn't get the promotion this time. Okay, here's another example. You apply for this job, you're so excited, you really think you were going to get it. Things went great at the interview, and wouldn't you know it, HR calls, you didn't get the job. All right, here's what we do with that. I want you to go back and mentally think about those interview questions. I want you to remember every single interview question and write them down. In fact, when I'm coaching a client who's getting ready to go into the interview, we usually have a mini session in the car before they even walk in. I remind them on what to do before, during, and after the interview. And one of the things I tell them to do right after, before they even leave the parking lot, is to write down every question they can think about, every question that they can remember they were asked. Why? Because those interview questions, if this is really the job you want, those interview questions are like a cheat sheet. It's like getting the insider scoop on what skills you have to have in order to not only ace the interview, okay? Because if you got the questions ahead of time, it's like getting the questions to the test before you take the test, right? So if you've got those questions, you know what they're looking for. And the next time you go for an interview with that same type of profession, right? The same job description, you're going to nail it. You're going to feel more confident. And also, it's going to give you kind of like, again, like I said before, a cheat sheet of what they're really looking for. So, what do? Again, you create that plan of action, you refine those skills, again, find those gaps in your resume if there are any, and you face those head on so that you can apply again. And maybe the next company is an even better position. You never know. Never give up. The one time I didn't, and I know this sounds, okay, this is going to sound really snooty or arrogant or whatever, but it's just the truth. It's my job history. One time I didn't get the job. The interview went so well. I was stunned. I was stunned. I knew I had it. Everything in my being told me I had it. Well, I find out later that they went with someone who had more experience. That was it. It was nothing against me. In fact, it was kind of like their policy to really kind of keep it in-house. Okay. Here's the irony. What this particular position entailed that particular year, I'm so grateful I didn't have to face what the person who was hired faced. They called me, the same organization called me a year later. It was a much better situation. And again, it wasn't my timing. The universe was like, oh no, Dawn, no, we're not putting you in now, kid. You just take a break, go do something else for a minute. And when the time is right, we're going to call you. And that's what happened. Yeah, you guys, it would have been a game changer in my career. If I had taken that job then, I don't think I would have stuck with the profession I started with, which was education. And I love everything about teaching. I loved everything about that school district, the people, the students, everything, the parents, everything, everything, everything. And it would have been a different experience had I gone in without waiting things out a little bit. So that's all I'll say about that. But I will say that you just don't know. You just really don't. Okay. All right. One more example. Let's say you're struggling with this project. That's what's driving you crazy. You just feel stuck because you just can't seem to get it right. All right. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. If you're really struggling, again, ask yourself the tough questions. Is it a skill set I don't have? If that's the case, what's the problem with getting that skill set? Do you feel like you should already know it and now you feel embarrassed to ask questions or reach out for help? Don't do that to yourself. 9 times out of 10, the other person's reaction is going to be a lot better than you think anyway. And listen, no one is perfect. If you're trying to put on airs and act like you know more than you do, authenticity, it's where it's at. It really is. And you're, again, not alone. Who cares if somebody thought you knew that software beautifully and maybe you're not that great at it? Who cares if, like me, you can't do math in your head, okay? And you make a mistake. I think I have an episode where I literally tried to do math in my head and I came up with the wrong thing. Did I re-record that episode for the 2 seconds I said that in a, 45-minute podcast? Absolutely not. Are you crazy? Now, the old Dawn would have done that. So again, guys, don't do that to yourself. Give yourself the grace you deserve and move on. Now, if you do struggle in seeing your setbacks as the comebacks they can be, ask yourself this: what did this experience teach me? Here's another question you can ask: how can I use this challenge as a stepping stone? Or what new opportunities could this open for me? Again, when you shift that mindset from setback to comeback, you'll stop fearing failure and you'll start using it as a tool for growth. In fact, stop thinking of it as a setback at all and think about it instead as a setup for your future success. Okay, next, that simple mindset shift we've been talking about. Here's something I want you to think about that's really going to help you move forward. The biggest way that you can impact your ability to let go and move on is for you to move from waiting for clarity to actually taking action despite the uncertainty. Again, so many times we expect to know all the answers, to have everything in place. You want things to be perfect, perfect, perfect. In fact, you want that perfect plan so badly that you'll work so much on that before you even take the first step. And here's the reality, and it's an ironic one. The clarity you're so desperately seeking actually comes from the action. It doesn't come from overthinking. Now, I mentioned earlier, I am a recovering perfectionist. I'm also a recovering overthinker. Yes, I've got some great videos about that too, you guys, because it really can cause that paralysis by analysis, and we don't want that for you. So again, instead of waiting for everything to be perfect before you make your first move, start taking small but bold action towards change. I'm all about bold action making. You guys, it's fabulous. Again, we'll include even more videos about that. But let me give you some examples of what those small but bold steps could be. Networking. Start networking in your desired field. Now, you've heard me reference my favorite networking group in the entire world, Business Networking International. We are the largest international networking group in the world, and we meet each and every week to help support each other in terms of referrals and helping each other grow our businesses. You talk about like-minded professionals. This group is awesome. And it really helps you learn how to network through the support of the group and all of the information you have access to. I mean, there are webinars, there are podcast episodes, YouTube videos, all kinds of resources on bni.com, you name it. Networking with like-minded professionals, especially in your own profession itself, is a great way to start. Here's another example. Go ahead and take a course to build some new skills. All of us can benefit from that. You should always Be interested in continuous learning. And in fact, that is one of the reasons I joined BNI. As a former educator and now businesswoman, it was something very important to me that people invested in their continuous education. And this organization really does encourage that. In fact, we're expected to have one CEU, a continuing education unit, each and every week. So you're always learning about your business, about networking, about promoting, putting together services, products, and all those kinds of things, right? So again, if you could learn a new skill to keep up with your industry, it's not only going to help you professionally, but who knows what kind of innovative and creative idea you could come up with for the next big thing in your profession. Here's two more things I want you to think about. Go ahead and start volunteering for new projects and taking on different tasks. That's a fantastic way to showcase your skill set, learn something new, and again, bridge those gaps that might be there. Those gaps may be the reason that you're not getting the job that you want or that promotion. So don't take any chances. Really invest in your own professional growth and you'll see a real difference. Now, here's one more thing. I want you to apply for roles and positions even if you don't think you're qualified. Let me say something about this. As a former hiring manager, do you know how often I saw the men walk through my doors, apply for a job that I knew they really were not qualified for? They might have had 3 or 4 of the qualifications, if say there were 10 in that job description. They would go ahead and apply for it because they had this underlying belief of confidence that the skill sets they did have were solid enough to help them learn what they didn't already know. But the women wouldn't do that. If they didn't have 8 or 9 of those 10, let's say, they wouldn't even put their hat in the ring. You guys, this is backed up by the research. There are real genetic and gender differences as to why this happens. So now that you know, now that I've busted this myth about imposter syndrome, okay, that's really what you're doing. You feel like an imposter. It's a real documented syndrome. I want you to really think about that. Don't feel like you have to have every aspect of that job description before you go for it. Go for gold. Remember that betting on yourself is never wrong. And per usual, I'll have videos there to help support you on that journey. So, what's the takeaway? Here it is. Don't let uncertainty keep you frozen. Take action, learn as you go, and adjust along the way. Progress beats perfection every single time. All right, now let's get to those 5 power tips. You ready? Number 1, I want you to start by creating your own career audit. That's right, ladies. I want you to look at your skill set as if you're me. You're the hiring manager. You just got this person's resume, which, by the way, when was the last time you updated your resume? Do you even know how they write resumes in 2025? You guys, it's an important thing, okay? Always keep it current. I've got cheat sheets on the website you can check out. I help people with their resumes, but it really is important because guess what? It helps you do what I'm asking you to do, the career audit. You've got to look right now and see, hey, how do I look on paper for my profession? Do I have the current computer skills people are using? Do I have the current experiences and expertise? Are there some industry certifications I'm lacking? Are there some professional conferences I forgot to put on my resume that would show the well-rounded professional that I am? Do you have some volunteer work that you're passionate about that you don't have listed there? Really think about doing this career audit. And again, really think about going back and at the very least dusting off that resume so that way when the career opportunity presents itself, you don't have to tell them, oh yeah, sure, I can get I can get your resume by the end of the week. Forget that. You should have it current, updated, and ready to send them so that you literally can say, oh yeah, no problem. I have a current resume. I'll send that to you by the end of the day. You shouldn't have to be sitting there going, oh my gosh, when was the last time I even did this? You shouldn't be scrambling around trying to find someone like me to help you or trying to figure it out yourself. You should be ready to go. All right, number 2. I want you to reignite your passion for your work. I know. If you're feeling stuck, you probably are dragging into work. You're just begging for someone to like hook you up to an IV of caffeine. It could be that bad, okay? But you got to stop the bleeding. And here's what you do. You don't put a Band-Aid on it. You literally snip this stuff off and you say to yourself, today, I am going to find every single thing I love about my work right now. I'm starting where I am. I'm meeting myself where I am. And I'm going to be the absolute best at what I do right now. And if that's still not making me happy, then I am making a plan on what I'm doing next, okay? What to do next in your career when you feel stuck and you don't know what strategies you should take, what steps you should take. Again, guys, there's lots of videos about that I'm going to share with you so you can check those out. Okay. You may never need to hire a coach like me to help you through it. There's tons of resources out there. Now, yes, if you literally go to Google and type in career advice or career coaching, you're going to come up with like 6 billion results. You don't have time for all that, but you do have time to think about these moves and get clear on the fact that if you're not passionate about your work right now, that is going to be just coming through your pores. It's going to come off as if you're negative. It's going to come off sometimes like you're not confident. You guys, I feel so passionate about people reigniting their passion. By the way, notice I said reigniting. I didn't say to find your passion. I personally believe every single one of us has it. We had it probably from childhood. We just have to light the fires again. So reignite, I use that purposely. And I feel so strongly about it. I wrote an entire chapter about this in my book. I've got tons of videos about this. I've got some blog posts you can find on our website. I even have a virtual class you can take called, you guessed it, Reigniting Your Passion. Because you guys, I don't want you to be one of those employees who's watching the clock, waiting for 5 o'clock to strike so that you can then start being passionate about your life. What a sad existence that is. And if you're doing that right now, you're going to stop. You're stopping, okay? Listen to me. You're stopping. This is some tough love right here. Stop complaining. Start doing something about it. And you're going to start with reigniting your passion and think about every little thing that brings you joy. If most of what brings you joy is not in your job, I know you can find a couple of things to lean into. And if you can find so little about your job, why? Okay? Why? You are in charge. You choose what job to have. You really do. Don't blame other people. Don't blame your circumstances. Go out there, refine your skill set, ask for help, ladies. We're terrible about that. And then we wonder why things don't change. So ask for help, do things differently. What do they say? The definition of insanity is, you know what I'm getting ready to say. That's right. We're not going to keep doing the same old and expecting those different results, right? We're not going to drive ourselves crazy. It stops now. Number 3, I want you to invest in your growth. Again, this is important and it doesn't cost anything. You can listen to podcasts like this that are free. You can go to YouTube videos about how to do this. There's a lot of free resources out there. Your company may even offer some free online classes if you're interested in investing in your personal and professional growth. Ask your boss, do you know how many bosses hire me for their employees? Well, guess what? If your boss knew right now that you needed some professional help, whether it was through coaching or just an online teacher, most likely they're going to want to do it for you. Now, if there's room in the budget, they're going to say yes. If there's not room in the budget, guess what? Maybe that could be a conversation for next year's budget. Did you know that the best companies, I'm talking Fortune 500 companies, they invest a minimum of $1,000 per employee per year in professional development? Are you spending $1,000 a year on classes? Probably not. Have you even asked your boss to pay for a class? Probably not. So again, ladies, be an advocate for yourself. Be passionate about your life and your work and ask for that investment. You are worth it. Number 4, I love this one. I want you to shake up your routine. Don't do the same morning routine and bedtime routine. Don't approach your workday in the same way every day and again expect those different results. Shake up your routine because when you do, that can be the bedrock of creativity, innovation, engagement, you name it. You'd be surprised how a small change in your habits and in your routine can really spark a brand new and fresh perspective. Last but not least, I want you to take bold action. Don't you love that? Remember, like I said before, betting on yourself is never wrong. Bold is scary sometimes, right? But I want you to be bold in your life. I want you to, again, take those risks. You can take risks without risking everything. You just want to stretch your limits. You want to stretch far enough to see how far you can go. Don't hold yourself back, ladies. Don't put those invisible chains on yourself. Don't pop that metaphorical balloon as it's sailing up in the air before it even has a chance. And remember, action breeds confidence. Action breeds clarity. So you're never going to be able to make these moves that you want to make forward if you're holding yourself back, right? Action is how you build that momentum. It's like that big boulder. Once you start pushing that big boulder up that hill, the hardest part is the beginning. Once you get it up that hill and it starts rolling down on the other side, it's a breeze. It takes off, it has a power of its own, and it's a great analogy because the toughest part of anything is the beginning. That's why oftentimes you'll hear professionals talk about the 21 action step. There's a reason why a lot of folks in this space recommend to their clients and recommend just in general that you need probably at least 21 days or 3 weeks to see real change. Why is that? Well, because the research has shown us over the years that it usually does take about 3 weeks to get used to a habit, something that maybe you haven't done before, to really get ingrained in your brain and become something that can make a big impact in your life. So if you want your changes to truly stay with you, not just be something that you start and then you just slide back into your old routine, then you got to give yourself some grace. So make those bold moves, take those actions. If you need 21 days of action steps, do that. Invest in yourself. In fact, all the workshops I do, 4 workshops a year, and every single one of mine have 21 daily tips that come with it after the workshop. Because guess what? At a workshop, everybody's motivated and excited, okay? Yeah, you don't have to worry about motivation on that day. Everybody is geared up, ready to go. All right. And the 4 workshops, if you want more information about that, of course, I've got that on the website for you. But they're great topics. We just did one on building your brand. We did one on, well, we're getting ready to do one actually on time management. We are doing one on unlocking your CEO mindset. That's coming up in April. And we just finished one called Stress Less, Achieve More Without Sacrificing Work-Life Balance. Well, these are the kinds of topics I do every year. I have it in person. Of course, people can join virtually as well. But then as soon as the workshop is over the next day, my participants actually get an invitation to a private Facebook group so that I can post videos and daily tips. And then they actually get a cheat sheet at the end. Oh my gosh, that reminds me, we wrapped up this workshop and I need to send the daily tips. I need to put that together for everybody. Okay. So they get the daily tip in the private Facebook group, but then when it's over, I want to create that as a PDF for them. So it's something they can print out and keep. And then I always give them extra things. Like they got my powerful morning affirmations. They got that. They got like the moth story. I don't know if you've heard about the moth story. It's really fun. Anyway, that's another thing that we got. But they get extra things in the Facebook group. But why do I go through all that trouble and spend 21 days posting this stuff? It's because I know that if I want my workshop participants to feel like they not only got their money's worth, but that they see real change in their life, they got to work on it for a couple of weeks. Now, I'm not asking them to work for 21 days. Let me just clear that up. I'm asking them to think about one tip a day that's going to support them in their goals. Because if they set a goal, I want them to achieve it. All right, you guys. Now, speaking of Facebook, let me tell you this. If you want to join our community of amazing professionals so that you can get extra tips and tricks, you guys, I post that all the time on Facebook. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're getting ready to do TikTok. So reach out to us. You can find us at Dr. Dawn Shop Talk. That's just DRDAWN Shop Talk, all one word. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'll be sure to put that on the screen for you. And if you found this episode helpful, you know what to do. Go ahead and Rate, review, subscribe, and share. Share this episode with a friend or a colleague or family member that might be feeling stuck in their professional or even personal life. These strategies, I promise you, can be used for both. Now, before we go, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we close out every episode at Dr. Dawn's Shop Talk with this motto. And it's a motto that reminds us to not be afraid to take charge of our day. And it goes like this. If you're not having a fantastic day, you have the power to make it one. Until next time, ladies, you have a great rest of your week. And remember, you don't have to take this journey alone. We've got you covered. I know our episode is over, but this is just the beginning. If you're ready to take action but don't know where to start, just head over to drdawnshoptalk.com for lots of free resources, ways to work together, and for even more. Subscribe to the Dr. Dawn Shop Talk YouTube channel. Remember, ladies, you don't have to take this journey alone. I've got you covered. Till next time.